Welcome to Tell by Good.10, where you'll find African tales. Make sure that you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story. In a quiet farm near Benin, a simple girl meets a man from the city, and that meeting changed her life forever.
The sun rose slowly over the green fields near the old city of Benin in Nigeria, and the warm morning light touched the small farm where Oben lived with his family. Oben was a strong man of 56 years who had spent most of his life working on the land. And even though his hair had begun to turn grey and his hands had become rough from many years of farming, his heart was still full of strength and kindness. Every morning Oben woke up before the birds began to sing, and as he stepped outside his small house, he would look at the wide farm that had been his pride for many years. The soil was rich and dark, and rows of vegetables grew in neat lines across the land, showing the careful work that Oben had done day after day. Farming was not always easy, but Oben believed that honest work was a blessing, and he was thankful for every harvest the land gave him. Inside the house, his wife Mary was already awake and busy with the morning chores. Mary was 47 years old, a calm and hard-working woman who always carried a gentle smile on her face. She helped Oben on the farm during the day, and in the evening she would gather fresh vegetables and take them to the market in Benin, where many people came to buy food for their families. Mary believed that every small effort could help the family live a better life, and even though the work was sometimes tiring, she never complained because she loved her family deeply. Oben and Mary had 2 children who were the joy of their home. Their son Toti was 26 years old and had gone to work in the busy town of Benin. Toti worked hard and tried to build a future for himself, and although he did not live at the farm anymore, he often sent messages to his parents to let them know he was doing well. Their daughter Angel was 30 years old and still lived with her parents at the farm. Angel was kind, thoughtful, and full of dreams about life beyond the quiet village. She helped her mother prepare vegetables for the market and sometimes went along to the town, where she enjoyed seeing the busy streets and the tall buildings that were very different from the peaceful fields of the farm. In the evenings, when the sun began to set and the sky turned orange and gold, Mary would carefully pack fresh vegetables into a basket. Angel would sometimes walk beside her as they headed toward the market road, and the cool evening air carried the sounds of people returning home after a long day. Oben often stood near the farm gate, watching them leave, and as he leaned on his farming tool, he would smile quietly, because he knew that even though their life was simple, it was filled with love, respect, and hope for the future. On one calm evening, as Mary and Angel walked toward the market once again, neither of them knew that something important was about to happen in Angel's life, something that would slowly change the path of their quiet family story. The evening road that led from the quiet farm to the busy town of Benin was one that Angel and her mother Mary had walked many times before, and as they moved slowly along the path with a basket full of fresh vegetables, the warm evening wind brushed softly against their faces, while the sounds of the town grew louder the closer they came. Mary walked with steady steps because she was already used to the journey, but Angel always looked around with curious eyes because the town of Benin felt like a different world from the peaceful farm where she had grown up. The streets were filled with people moving from one place to another. Small shops stood close together, and voices from traders calling customers filled the air like a busy song. When they reached the evening market, Mary quickly began arranging the vegetables on a wooden table that she used every day. The green leaves, red tomatoes, and fresh peppers looked bright under the market lights, and soon people started coming to buy food for their homes. Angel stood beside her mother, helping to greet customers and pass the vegetables across the table, but from time to time, her eyes wandered around the market because she enjoyed watching the busy life around her. Deep inside her heart, Angel often wondered what it would be like to work in one of the big offices she had seen in the town. Sometimes she imagined herself walking confidently through the streets of Benin with important work to do, meeting new people, and learning new things about the world beyond the quiet farm. On that particular evening, the market was more crowded than usual, and cars moved slowly along the nearby road as workers were returning home after a long day. Angel had just finished helping a customer when she noticed a man standing not too far from the vegetable stand. The man looked different from most people in the market because he was dressed in neat office clothes and carried himself with calm confidence. His name was Frank, a 35-year-old company manager who worked in one of the offices in the town of Benin. Frank had stopped at the market on his way home because he wanted to buy fresh vegetables for dinner, but when his eyes met Angel's gentle smile, he felt curious and decided to walk closer to the table. Mary welcomed him kindly, as she did with every customer, and she began showing him the vegetables that had been picked fresh from their farm that very morning. While Mary spoke about the vegetables, Angel stood beside her quietly, and Frank noticed that she spoke with kindness and respect when helping the customers. Frank bought some vegetables and thanked Mary warmly, but before leaving, he looked again at Angel and asked a simple question about the farm where the vegetables were grown. Angel answered politely, explaining that her father, Oben, worked hard every day on their farm outside the town. Their conversation was simple and short, but it felt friendly and natural, and Frank left the market that evening with more than just vegetables in his bag. As he walked away through the busy street, he found himself thinking about the kind young woman who helped her mother at the market. For Angel, the moment seemed small and ordinary, yet something about the meeting stayed quietly in her thoughts as she helped her mother pack the empty baskets later that night. Neither of them knew that this simple meeting at the market would slowly grow into something much bigger, something that would connect the quiet farm of Oben's family with the busy world of the town. Angel first spoke with Frank at the market, and life on Oben's farm continued in the calm and simple way it always had. The sun still rose gently over the green fields, Oben still worked carefully among his vegetables, and Mary still prepared the fresh produce that she would later take to the market in Benin. But for Angel, something inside her mind had quietly changed. From time to time, she remembered the friendly man who had stopped at their vegetable stand, and she wondered why their short conversation had stayed in her thoughts longer than she expected. One evening, when Mary and Angel arrived at the market again, the place was filled with its usual busy life. Traders arranged their goods on wooden tables, customers moved from one stall to another, and the air carried the mixed sounds of voices, laughter, and footsteps. As Angel helped her mother arrange the vegetables, she suddenly noticed a familiar face walking through the crowd. It was Frank. Frank had returned to the market again, but this time it was not only to buy vegetables. During the past few days, he had remembered the calm and respectful way Angel spoke, and he felt curious to see her again. When Frank reached the vegetable stand, Mary welcomed him warmly because she remembered him as the polite customer who had bought vegetables before. Frank greeted both Mary and Angel with a friendly smile, and soon they began another simple conversation. This time their talk lasted longer. Frank asked about the farm, about Oben's work, and about how long Mary had been selling vegetables in the market. Mary answered with pride because she respected her husband's hard work and the life they had built together. As the evening continued, Frank spoke more with Angel, and he learned that she was thoughtful, kind, and respectful toward her parents. The more he listened to her, the more he admired her simple but strong character. After some time, Frank politely said something that surprised both Angel and Mary. He explained that he would like to visit their farm one day so that he could meet Oben and see where the fresh vegetables were grown. Mary looked at Angel for a moment before answering, because in their family, it was always important to show respect and honesty when welcoming visitors. After thinking for a short time, Mary agreed and told Frank that he would be welcome to visit the farm. A few days later, Frank kept his word. On a bright afternoon, he followed the road that led away from the busy town and toward the quiet farmland where Oben lived. The city noise slowly faded behind him as he walked deeper into the peaceful countryside. When Frank finally reached the farm, he saw Oben working in the field with a farming tool in his hands. The rows of vegetables stretched across the land, showing the careful work that had been done there for many years. Mary and Angel welcomed Frank kindly, And soon, Mary introduced him to Oben. The older farmer looked at Frank with calm and thoughtful eyes, because Oben was a man who always liked to understand the character of a person before trusting them. Frank greeted Oben respectfully and spoke politely about the farm and the vegetables he had seen at the market. Oben listened carefully as Frank explained that he worked as a company manager in Benin and that he respected the hard work of farmers who provided food for many families. The conversation between them was calm and steady, and as the afternoon sun slowly moved across the sky, Frank sat with the family outside their home while they talked about life, work, and the town of Benin. Oben was a wise man who had lived many years and understood people well, so while he spoke kindly with Frank, he quietly observed the young man's attitude and behavior. Angel watched the conversation with quiet curiosity because she knew that this visit was important. It was the first time someone from the busy world of the town had come to meet her family on their simple farm. As the evening light slowly began to fade over the fields, the small visit that started with a simple meeting at the market had now brought Frank into the heart of Oben's family. But while the farm remained peaceful that evening, another important moment was still waiting to happen. Far away, in the busy town of Benin, Toti was preparing to return home for a visit, and soon he would hear about the new visitor who had come to meet his family. Few days after Frank visited the farm, the quiet home of Oben and Mary continued with its normal rhythm of life. The mornings were filled with the soft sounds of farming work. The afternoons passed slowly under the warm sun, and the evenings brought gentle conversations as the family rested after a long day. But on one particular morning, something special was about to happen. Toti, the son of the family who worked in the busy town of Benin, had decided that it was time to return home for a short visit. Life in the town had kept him very busy, and although he worked hard every day, he often missed the peaceful farm where he had grown up. The road from the town to the village was long and dusty, but as Toti traveled along it, his heart felt lighter with every step because he was getting closer to home. The tall buildings of Benin slowly disappeared behind him, and the quiet green fields began to appear again. By the time the afternoon sun was shining brightly over the farmland, Toti finally reached the small house where his parents lived. Angel was the first to see him as she stepped outside to bring water from the well. When she noticed her brother walking toward the house with a travel bag in his hand, her face quickly filled with excitement. She ran toward him with a wide smile, greeting him warmly as they laughed and spoke about how long it had been since they had seen each other. Mary soon came out of the house after hearing their voices, and her face lit up with joy when she saw her son standing at the gate. She welcomed him with a warm embrace and thanked God for bringing him safely back home. Not long after that, Oben returned from the farm carrying his tools. When he saw Toti standing near the house, he stopped for a moment and smiled proudly. Even though Oben was a quiet man, the love he felt for his children was strong and clear. The family sat together under the shade of a large tree near the house while Mary served food that she had prepared earlier. They talked happily about many things, including Toti's work in the town and the experiences he had seen while living there. As the conversation continued, Angel slowly mentioned the recent visit that Frank had made to the farm. Toti listened carefully as his sister explained how she first met Frank at the market and how he later came to visit their parents. When Angel finished speaking, Toti sat quietly for a moment because he wanted to understand the situation clearly. He knew that meeting someone new could sometimes bring important changes to a family, and as the older brother, he felt responsible for protecting and supporting his sister. But instead of rushing to judge, Toti decided that the best thing to do was to learn more about Frank before forming an opinion. With a calm voice, he asked his parents about the young man who had come to visit. Oben explained that Frank had spoken politely and showed respect during their conversation, but he also said that understanding a person takes time. Toti nodded slowly because he respected his father's wisdom. He agreed that character is not known in one meeting and that patience is always important when making decisions about relationships. As the evening sun slowly began to sink behind the fields, the family continued talking peacefully together. The warm orange light of the sunset spread across the farm, and the gentle wind moved through the tall grass. Yet, deep inside their hearts, each member of the family knew that Angel's meeting with Frank was not just a small event. It was the beginning of something new that might slowly change the future of their family. And very soon, Frank himself would return again, bringing with him another moment that would test the thoughts and feelings of everyone in Oben's home. The night after Toti returned home was peaceful and quiet on Oben's farm. The cool evening wind moved softly through the fields, and the sound of insects filled the dark countryside. Inside the small house, the family sat together after dinner, enjoying the comfort of being together again. Toti was happy to be home, but the story about Frank stayed in his mind. As an older brother, he cared deeply about Angel and wanted to make sure that anyone who came close to his family truly had a good heart. While Mary cleared the table and Oben rested after a long day of work, Toti and Angel sat outside near the large tree beside the house. The moon shone gently over the farm, and the quiet night made their conversation calm and thoughtful. Toti spoke gently as he asked Angel how she truly felt about Frank. He did not want to sound harsh or suspicious because he trusted his sister, but he also wanted to understand her feelings clearly. Angel took a slow breath before answering because the question touched something deep inside her heart. She explained that she did not know Frank very well yet, but she respected the way he spoke and the kindness he showed when he visited the farm. She told her brother that Frank seemed like a responsible man who worked hard in the town and treated people with respect. Angel also explained that their conversations had always been simple and friendly, and that she appreciated how calmly he spoke with their parents. Toti listened carefully, without interrupting. When Angel finished speaking, he nodded slowly, because he could see that his sister was thinking seriously and not rushing into her feelings. Later that evening, the whole family gathered together again, and the conversation naturally returned to the same subject. Mary spoke first, explaining that as a mother, she always wished happiness for her children. She said that if Frank truly respected Angel and treated her well, then it would be a good thing to welcome him as a friend of the family. Oben, however, remained quiet for a moment before speaking. As the head of the family, he believed that every important decision should be taken with patience and wisdom. He explained that love and friendship are strong things, but they must be built slowly with trust and responsibility. Oben said that one visit was not enough to fully know a person's character, and that time would show whether Frank was truly the kind of man who deserved to be close to their family. Toti agreed with his father's words because he believed that careful thinking helps families avoid mistakes. Angel listened to them both respectfully, understanding that their concerns came from love and protection. The discussion ended peacefully, and the family returned to their normal evening routine. Yet, even though the conversation was calm, everyone knew that the matter was not finished. Somewhere in the busy town of Benin, Frank was also thinking about the farm and the warm family he had met there. He respected Oben and Mary, and he admired Angel's kindness and calm spirit. Because of this, Frank decided that he would soon return to the farm again. This time, however, he wanted to show the family more clearly who he really was and what kind of future he hoped to build. And without knowing it, the next visit would become an important moment that would slowly reveal Frank's true character to everyone in Oben's family. Several days passed after the family's long conversation under the moonlight, and life on the farm slowly returned to its usual peaceful rhythm. The morning sun continued to rise over the wide green fields, and Oben could always be seen working carefully among his crops, while the fresh smell of the soil filled the air. Toti spent some of his days helping his father on the farm during his visit. Even though he worked in the busy town of Benin, he still remembered many of the farming skills his father had taught him when he was younger. Working beside Oben again made him feel proud of the simple life that had raised him. Mary continued her daily routine of preparing vegetables and taking them to the evening market. Angel helped her with the work, but from time to time, she wondered if Frank would return to visit again, as he had promised. One warm afternoon, while the sun rested high in the sky, a familiar figure appeared on the road that led to the farm. It was Frank. He walked calmly toward the house, carrying a small bag, and when Angel noticed him approaching, she called her parents so they could welcome their visitor. Mary greeted Frank kindly, and invited him to sit under the shade of the large tree near the house. Oben soon joined them after washing his hands from the farm work, and Toti also came over to greet the man he had heard so much about. Frank greeted everyone politely, speaking with the same calm respect he had shown during his first visit. This time, he had brought a small gift for the family. Not something expensive, but a thoughtful gesture to show appreciation for their kindness. He explained that he had brought some food from the town because he wanted to share a meal with them. Mary thanked him warmly, and soon she began preparing the meal while the others sat together outside. As the afternoon passed, Frank spoke openly about his life in Benin. He explained how he had worked hard for many years to become a company manager and how he believed that honesty and patience were the most important qualities in both work and family life. Toti listened closely as Frank spoke. Instead of asking difficult questions, he simply observed how Frank treated his parents and how he spoke with respect to everyone around him. At one moment, Frank noticed that Oben was preparing to return to the field to finish some work before sunset. Without hesitation, Frank stood up and offered to help him. Oben looked surprised for a moment because visitors rarely asked to work on the farm, but after a short pause, he accepted the offer. Together they walked into the field where the vegetables grew in long, straight rows. Frank followed Oben carefully, learning how to carry tools and help with the simple tasks that needed to be done. Although Frank was not used to farm work, he did his best and never complained about the heat or the effort. Oben quietly watched him while they worked, noticing the young man's willingness to learn and his respect for the work of the land. Back near the house, Toti and Angel watched the two men working together in the field. But inside his mind, he began to see that Frank was not only a man of words, but also someone willing to show effort through his actions. When the sun slowly began to sink behind the fields, Frank and Oben returned to the house, tired but satisfied with the work they had completed. Later that evening, the family shared the meal that Mary had prepared, and the atmosphere around the table felt warm and comfortable. The conversation flowed easily, and laughter occasionally filled the air. For Oben and Toti, this visit had quietly revealed something important. Frank had shown patience, humility, and respect for their simple way of life. But even though the day had gone well, everyone understood that one good visit was only the beginning of understanding a person's true character. Soon, another moment would come that would ask Angel to think deeply about her future, her dreams, and the place where her heart truly belonged. After Frank's second visit to the farm, the atmosphere in Oben's home felt calmer and more thoughtful. The family had seen how Frank behaved, how he spoke with respect, and how he was willing to help even with work that he was not used to doing. These small actions had quietly built a sense of trust in the hearts of Oben and Toti. Yet there was still an important question that had not been fully answered. What kind of future was waiting for Angel? The following evening, Mary and Angel once again prepared the fresh vegetables for the market. As they arranged the tomatoes, peppers, and green leaves into baskets, Mary looked gently at her daughter. A mother often understands the feelings of her child even before words are spoken, and Mary could see that Angel was thinking deeply about many things. As they walked along the familiar road toward the town of Benin, the sky slowly turned soft orange, while the sun prepared to rest behind the distant trees. The evening breeze moved gently around them, and their footsteps followed the path they had walked so many times before. After walking quietly for a while, Mary finally spoke. She told Angel that life often brings moments when a person must choose a direction for their future. She explained that love and respect are important in a relationship, but a person must also think about their dreams, their responsibilities, and the kind of life they truly want to live. Angel listened carefully because she respected her mother's wisdom. When they reached the market, they began selling vegetables as usual, greeting customers and answering friendly questions. But later in the evening, Frank arrived once again. This time, he did not come only as a visitor. After greeting Mary politely, he asked if he could speak with Angel for a short moment nearby. Mary nodded calmly because she trusted her daughter to make thoughtful decisions. Angel and Frank walked a short distance away, where the sounds of the market were softer. Frank spoke with honesty and calmness. He explained that over the past weeks, he had come to admire Angel's kindness patience, and respect for her family. He said that meeting her had made him think seriously about building a future with someone who valued family and simple happiness. Frank told Angel that he hoped they could continue to know each other better and slowly build a relationship that might one day lead to marriage. Angel felt both surprised and thoughtful as she listened to his words. Frank was a good man with a stable job in the town, and he had already shown respect to her parents. But Angel also knew that accepting such a future could mean leaving the farm where she had grown up and beginning a new life in the busy town. For a few quiet moments, she looked around the market, thinking about her family, the peaceful farm, and the dreams she had carried inside her heart for many years. She finally spoke gently. Angel told Frank that she respected him and appreciated his honesty, but she also believed that important decisions should not be rushed. She explained that she wanted time for both of them to understand each other better and to make sure that their hopes for the future were truly the same. Frank listened carefully and nodded with understanding. He respected her thoughtful answer because he also believed that strong relationships are built slowly and carefully. When they returned to Mary's vegetable stand, the evening market was beginning to quiet down as people prepared to return home. Angel helped her mother pack the remaining vegetables into baskets, but inside her heart, she felt a mixture of calmness and curiosity about what the future might bring. Back on the farm, Oben and Toti were also thinking about the same question. The path ahead for Angel was slowly opening, and soon the family would discover what this new chapter of life would truly bring for all of them. After the evening at the market, when Frank shared his honest feelings, the days that followed were calm but thoughtful for everyone involved. Life on the farm continued just as it always had, yet inside the hearts of the family, there was a quiet sense that something important was slowly shaping their future. Oben still woke early each morning to work in the fields, and the rising sun still painted the farmland with warm golden light. Mary still prepared the vegetables that she carried to the market each evening, and Toti spent his remaining days at home, helping his father, while thinking about when he would return to his work in the town. Angel continued her normal routine as well, but now she carried deeper thoughts about the future. She knew that the decision before her was not only about love, but also about responsibility, family, and the kind of life she wished to build. Frank, on the other hand, remained patient. He did not pressure Angel or rush her decision. Instead, he continued to visit the farm from time to time, always greeting Oben and Mary with respect and speaking kindly with Toti. During these visits, the family slowly came to know him better. They saw that Frank was not only a man who spoke politely, but also someone who valued honesty, patience, and family unity. One evening, as the sun was setting gently over the farm, the whole family gathered outside, near the large tree where they often sat together. The air was calm and peaceful, and the sky glowed with soft colors as the day slowly came to an end. Frank had come to visit again, and this time, the conversation turned toward the future. Angel spoke calmly and clearly. She explained that she had spent many days thinking deeply about her life, her dreams, and the love she had for her family. She told them that she respected Frank and believed he was a good man who had shown kindness and patience. She also explained that she believed a strong future could be built when two people shared the same values of respect, responsibility, and care for family. After hearing her words, Oben looked at his daughter with quiet pride. He had raised his children to think carefully and act with wisdom, and now he could see that Angel had grown into a thoughtful and responsible woman. Oben then spoke slowly, his voice calm and steady. He said that a family becomes strong not because life is always easy, but because its members support each other with love, trust, and patience. He explained that the most important thing in life is not wealth or position, but the character of a person and the way they treat others. Toti also shared his thoughts, saying that after watching Frank's actions and listening to his words, he believed Frank respected their family and cared about Angel sincerely. Mary smiled warmly as she looked at her children, grateful that the family had been able to speak openly and honestly with each other. As the evening breeze moved softly across the fields, Angel finally shared her decision. She said that she was willing to continue building a future with Frank, slowly and carefully, with the blessing and guidance of her family. Frank thanked the family with deep respect, promising that he would always value Angel and treat her family as his own. The peaceful farm remained quiet as the stars slowly appeared in the night sky. But within that quiet moment, something meaningful had been achieved. The family had faced a new chapter of life, not with fear or conflict, but with understanding, patience, and love.